All right, so here's our third tumbler. This is really just, some people might even refer to this as a vase. I kind of like look at this like a big gulp. You probably do like 20, maybe 30 ounces in here. And that's about as much water as I like to drink at once. So this is a nice Rob cup. So I'm gonna go ahead and begin to center this. She loves to show me off her course, smiles every time my face is up in the sauce. Landlord dissed us, no heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. Birthdays was the worst days, now we sip champagne when we thirsty. Damn right I like the life I live, cause I went from negative to positive and it's all good, yeah. And if you don't know, now you know. All right. So I, again, left a lot of clay on here, and I'm really excited about maybe playing with some really tall foot action, and maybe giving it almost like a round shape here, because the interior of this pot is round, so I can go ahead and manipulate the very outside of this. Now, one of the things I learned about trimming that's really important to pay attention to is it's okay if your pot's moving a little bit if you allow some flex in your tool. So if your pot is like even like slightly off kilter, but you hold your tool really stiff, you're gonna get an uneven foot. But if you allow, as your pot is trimming, to like move with the pot as well, then even if your pot's not perfectly centered, you'll still get a perfect trim, okay? So I'm gonna round off this edge here. And I'm gonna begin to take away some of the excess clay that's in the center of the pot. So I go in at an angle to make my mark, and then I'll actually go in and trim away some of the excess of this clay with the round part of this tool. Let me get as close as I can in here for you to be able to see how this works. So this round part, I'm gonna go ahead and start taking away that excess, and then I'm gonna slowly move my tool really at the same speed that you would pull the clay with, okay? And I'm gonna go back and forth. And the thing is this creates some rings in it. So then you go back again to your flat tool and use this tool flat against the surface. And that's gonna do two things. That's gonna create your last sort of like trim, but that's also gonna take away those throwing lines and create a really nice smooth transition in there. So I wanted this foot to be a little bit wider. This is what's really nice about leaving a lot of excess clay at the very bottom of your pot, is you got so much room, more room to play with, okay? All right. All right, so now one last thing I'm gonna show you, just as like a fun extra tool that you can use, is I create sort of this, this ruffled effect on the very bottom of my pot. So to do this, I'll either use a sponge with a little bit of water, and you can use the sort of palette knife that comes in your toolkit, but I like these that are like just even ever so slightly thinner and smaller. So I'm gonna go ahead and wet this right here, this area. And then for this particular one, I'm gonna wanna lower it so that you can look at the profile of it as I'm doing it. All right. So I'm gonna go in and make an incision here, and then I'm gonna sort of then use the tool in this particular direction to lift up that section and really create a differential between the top and the very bottom of that incision I made. In this particular one, since I have such a big foot, I can actually do this twice, and it really creates a nice sort of like stacked ripple effect. And so just bear with me here, because it may not look like I'm doing very much, and then towards the end it'll go ahead and come together. Okay. Now, one of the things you have to be careful with is you might get some excess clay here. So I'm sort of just like right now just transitioning by trimming away some of this excess that I have. One of the easiest ways to get rid of that is to go ahead and use your sponge, and some of that excess clay I can actually go ahead and push in to that. Okay. And then maybe one last time I'll go ahead and take away some of this excess. Okay, that, okay, very good. So you really want to be able to see the gaps in this for this to work, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and shut off my wheel, and then the rest of this I'm gonna do pretty manually, okay? Where's my tool, where's my tool? You ever have a hard time finding your tool? I feel like my whole practice is like 90% finding my tools, and then the rest of it is somehow figuring out how to make pottery. Okay, well here it goes. It was right here the whole time. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna look above the pot, and I'm gonna split the lip of this pot. Okay, so I wanna look at this piece right here going this way, and then I wanna do the opposite this way. So now I know that those things are opposing. We'll create a line this way, and then I'm gonna keep doing that to split up the pot quite a bit, okay? And that's gonna tell me where certain marks that I'm gonna make should go, all right? So now I'm gonna go ahead and push down the clay. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this tool and then push it down into the pot, and then I'm gonna just keep doing that. And I wanna like sort of like do more of a push rather than like a cut. It's really easy to like cut this foot, which doesn't cause too much of a problem, but at the same time, I think that it's much more effective if you can just sort of like figure out how to push into this clay without like splitting these, more so just like manipulating what that looks like by folding it into the rest of the pot. Okay? Okay, that looks good. Personally, I don't really like the way that the neck of this is. I really want to kind of create more of a transition, and I believe I have enough clay to still take away some of the excess of the body of the pot. So I'm going to do that. Also, the other thing that's nice is since this is a tumbler, you can really play up the sort of like, because a lot of times when we see these things, we see them in plastic or in glass, and or made from a mold, and they're just like really seamless. And the one thing I really like about handmade pottery is how you know, there's the human touch really to it, but that doesn't mean that you can't like have some of those hints of sleekness or smoothness by playing around with your tools, and have some moments where the pot is really smooth in some areas and then has more of a handmade quality in another one. So one of the things I really like about this process is the way that the foot sits when you go ahead and do that process. Kind of like hovers over it, which I really like. All right, well, there's trimming a foot on a large tumbler, and I hope you give this a try.